Spreadsheet applications, Module 3, Advanced Spreadsheet Techniques. We'll be looking at array in Excel. An array in Excel is a structure that holds a collection of data, written something like we have apple in quotes, banana, grapes, and guava. Now, in this case, this array is horizontal. There are other forms array take, but for now, we'll stick to this. As we proceed, we'll see the other forms. So array formulas. Array formulas enable to process several values and give several outputs. Now, in the first instance, we saw it applied to words, but it can be applied to numbers or alphanumeric characters, or it can be applied to Boolean, to Boolean true or false, and other applications. So the beauty is that array formulas are used for array values. So why use an array formula? An array formula, array formulas are the most powerful yet most easy to use calculation tools, which could be used to perform complex calculation and take place of hundreds of formulas with a single formula. Now you can imagine a situation where you copy cell address or cell reference for a formula from one cell to another location. And if you copy that formula to several locations in the worksheet, you are getting different formulas that are responding to the relative position. However, with an array formula, you have a single formula, even if you are using multiple rows or tens of thousands of rows. So this makes array formulas more efficient to use than copying and pasting a formula in different locations. So how to insert an array formula? After typing the formula, you have to press Ctrl plus Shift plus Enter together. Now you have to use Ctrl plus Shift plus Enter keys to convert the formula into an array formula. Whenever you edit array formula, the braces will disappear automatically, and you have to again press the combination of Ctrl plus Shift plus Enter keys together. Now, the catch is, don't forget at any point, whether you are editing an array formula or you are entering it for the first time, it is very important that you use the Ctrl plus Shift plus Enter key together when you are applying your changes. So if you forget to press Ctrl plus Shift plus Enter keys, that formula will not work. It won't work basically, or it may return an error. Single cell array formula. Now, for a single cell array formula, you need the result in a single cell. If you can see this example, the picture here, we have in cell D2 where we have an equal to sign. So the step to achieve that is to select the cell where you want to store the answer. In this case, we have cell D2. Now, go to the formula bar and write an equal to sign. There are two options. You can either do it in this same cell or do it in the formula bar. Then also indicate the operator you want to use, whether it's an equal, whether it's summation or an equal to sign. Then at the end of the day, what it will do is to return a single answer in this cell, selected cell. But there are other forms. Because the essence of an array formula is to be able to replicate that formula in multiple rows and still have an efficient worksheet with answers that reflects different values. So here we have, if you wish to perform the same calculation with more cells, then you can use the multi-cell formula example. Now look at this example. Here we have from cell B2 to B7, then cell C2 to C7. We want the answers. We want it to, usually we'll add this to this and use and copy the address, but we want to use array formula. So how do we achieve that? You select the range B2 to B7, but before then, select where you want the answers, because we're looking at multiple now, not a single. So our answers will be between D2 to D7. So we'll select it. If you see this point is selected, then press the equal to sign. And as soon as you do that, you enter the range that's equal to you select the range that's B2 to B7, then put the plus sign, and then select the range C2 to C7. Then press Ctrl plus Shift plus Enter together. As soon as you do that, it will display all the answers here. just like you are seeing it. And if you check each formula, they are showing the same formula. Nothing changes. It's the same formula. So it is efficient to load at any time. So Excel array constants. We'll be looking at the next thing, which is Excel array constants. Excel array constants are a set of static values and can't be changed. There are three types of Excel array constants. We'll start with the horizontal or row array constants. Now, just like we are seeing in this diagram, we have the row ranging from that's from cell A1 to E5. We have 5 values to be entered. So the rule is select where you want the values to be entered. So in this case, we have A1 to E5. So how do we achieve that? Excel array constants are set of static values, which we have mentioned. So we're looking at the horizontal version now. So step 1, select the cells you want to work with. That's the cell where you want this constant to enter. We're looking at 5 constants. So we're selecting 5 cells. In this case, A1 to E1. So go to the formula bar and start with an equal sign. Now enter the array you want to create in braces. So separated by commas, that's for horizontal array. So example, equal to open curly brace, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, close curly brace, and press Control plus Shift plus Enter together. As soon as you do that, it drops 5 of them automatically. That's the beauty of when it comes to entering values or entering constant or arrays into a spreadsheet. So you can see that you can enter multiple numbers at once. Then vertical or column array. This time around, we are looking at columns, and we have 3 things to be added. We have coding, we have ACCSA, and we have ACCSA global. So how do we achieve that? We are selecting 3 ranges. That's 3 cells in the range. That's E1 to E3. So having selected E1 to E3, just like we see here, you now take your first step. So the first step is what we have done. Then the second step, go to the formula bar and start with an equal sign. Now enter the array you want to create in braces. Now separated with termination sign or semicolon. Now, example, we can see equal to open curly brace, coding. You know, coding is in quote now because it's a word or a string, as we call it in programming. So they have to be in quote. They are not just like number that you enter straight. If it's number, we can say number, semicolon, 1, that's 1, semicolon, 2, semicolon, 3. But in this case, we are dealing with words, or dealing with strings. So we put coding in open and close bracket, the same to ACCSA global, and we are using the semicolon, meaning there's a break. It's not going to be a continuous line. It's going to be vertical. So after you've done that, all you need to do is to press Control plus Shift plus Enter key together. And as soon as you do that, it will drop the result. Then the 2-dimensional array, like we said earlier on, we say arrays can be vertical or they can be horizontal or both. So the 2-dimensional array is taking care of vertical and horizontal array at the same time. Now, how do we achieve that? Select the cells you want. That means in this case, we may want something like to fill up this weight. Let's say we want to fill E2 to E1 to F1, then also down to F2. That's we are selecting a range. That's the first row, and then the second row. Then we're dealing with also vertical and horizontal arrays. So how do we achieve that? Go to the formula bar and then start the equal to sign. But this is where you put your attention on step 3. Now enter the array you want to create in braces, separated with commas, for entering the values in the same row. So all the values in the same rows are separated with comma. Then the termination sign or semicolon for row change. That's they are telling the array that the next values you'll be entering are not going to be on the same row. So the semicolon is indicating that there is going to be a row change. And to identify that immediately, so when you press Control plus Shift plus Enter key, it is going to give you the result we don't have the image here, but the result 1, 2, 3. Then under it, coding ACCSA, then ACCSA global. So that is how arrays, the 3 types of arrays can be imputed in the spreadsheet. So working with constant arrays, there are things you need to know. when you are dealing with constant arrays. One, the elements. Element of an array constant must be of numeric, alphabetic, or Boolean, or Boolean that's true or false, or scientific notation. It can be outside the same. Then another thing is that the element of an array constant do not contain an array. You can't have an array inside as an element inside the new array you are creating. That will not work. You can also be allowed to use text, just like we saw previously in the array of the elements, but the text is surrounded by quotation marks. Just we saw where we have coding, we have ECS, so they were surrounded by quotation marks to indicate that these are text values. Now, naming an array, just instead of referring to the range of array, you can select the group of array, just like where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, select all the range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then right-click it. That's another way out. Right-click it and click, and then give it a name. So anytime you are referring to that range, you just refer to the name in the formula. So common errors. Now, the errors is, one of the major errors is that the use of delimiters in between the elements, people may tend to forget, or you may put the wrong delimiter, maybe a row change when you are trying to get, when you are still in the same row. So these are things to watch out. Then the selection of the range is also important point to remember. Now, remember when we wanted to add 1 to 5, we have to select 5 cells. That is very important. If not, you just have the first result, the rest will go off. Except you have to go again, edit the formula, and still press Ctrl plus Shift plus Enter key to achieve that. So the next thing we'll be looking at is pivot tables and pivot charts. Pivot tables are one of the most useful features in Excel. They are used to summarize or aggregate lots of data. In short, it is a data analysis tool, which is very, very effective. Now, what is a pivot table in Excel? A pivot table is a summary of your data package. We'll be seeing some of those things in our exercise later. So data format tips. Now, for the table you'll be using, you have your normal table, which is the table that you use to create a pivot table. Now, your normal table, that is where you make your entries, while your pivot table is where you do your summarization and aggregation, which we'll see later. But it is very important that you put these tips in the back of your mind, that you use clean tabular data for the best reports, because it's more of generating reports. What we are doing with pivot tables, more of generating reports and scaling down on some information, getting insight from the data that is presented by the table. So better to organize your data in columns instead of rows, because at the end of the day, what you'll be dealing with in your data, in your pivot table, are the fields, because if you label them properly, then you can see them to pick. So ensure all columns have headers. Normally, you convert your regular Excel entries to a table. And when you are converting that, you can either use Ctrl plus T to do that. Then when you are converting it, you tell the Excel that this table has headers, because these headers are what we'll be using in the pivot table. Now, format your data as an Excel table, which we have also highlighted. If you have complicated or nested data, use Power Query to transform it. Now, it's a data extraction, transformation, and loading tool, which is also one powerful tool to be used in Excel for formatting and cleaning tables. So what are the use of pivot tables, or what are pivot tables used for? Now, these are use cases. Comparing sales totals of different products. That's an instance. Showing product sales as percentage of the total sales. Another instance. Combining duplicate data. Then getting an employee head count for separate departments. You want to know how many employees do we have in sales department, in production department, in whatever departments. You can get their head count as well. So adding default values to empty cells. So these are the various applications or use of a pivot table. There are more. How to create a pivot table? It's simple. Now, step 1, select any cell in the data set of which a pivot table has to be created, any of the cell. Now make sure that within the cell, the table you have, that's your regular table that you want to convert to the pivot table. Select any of the cell. Just make sure your cell pointer is inside the table. Once that is done, go to Insert tab and click Insert Pivot Table. So fill the dialog box. Now the dialog box, it will show you, it will already, if you look at this, it has selected the range for you. So now the next thing the dialog box will ask you is whether you want the pivot table in a new sheet or in the existing sheet. In the case where you want to compare that with another table, fine and good, you can have it in the same sheet. But preferably for most, they want to have it in a new sheet so that they can have something cleaner to work with. Now, once that is done, you see this option. It will come up with the things to work with. So what are the things? What things are we looking at? Now, look at this. We have filters, we have columns, we have rows, we have values. Values shows a summarization. If you drop anything of value here, for example, sales. Look at this instance. Sales was dragged from the list, and this where above all you have the list of all the fields. Sales was dragged from that point, and here we have sales is summarized in total. It's showing just sales. Now, what if you want to see sales by country? The next thing you could do is to either drag country to column or drag country to rows. It will show you sales by country. It will split this value, this same value here, to split it as you have in the tables to reflect each country or each location, as the case may be. Now, furthermore, if you are moving something like country or like product counts, if you are moving them to a value field, instead of returning a sum, because you are not dealing with the country, you don't have sum of countries, it will return a count of that country. How many times does the country appear in a particular region or in the data table? It will return the count. Like here, we see a product count of product 700 products, count of country 700 countries. So these are things to watch out for when you are dealing with. Then the column area. Now, mostly you will want to arrange your most your fewer data, that's headings, in your column area. Therefore, when you have lot of data to be displayed or to be aggregated, like in the case here, we have many countries. Then here we have high, low, medium. These are fewer items. So these fewer items should be displayed in rows, in columns rather, and the items that are more should be displayed in columns, or rather in rows. Sorry, please, in rows. The items that are more should be displayed in rows, just like we have here, and the fewer items should be displayed in columns for proper reading. So filter areas in Excel. So those filter areas, for example, here we are seeing country. Under country, we see the result for Canada, we see the result for France, Germany, Mexico, and so on. What if we want to see just Canada? That is where filter comes to play. You filter whatever you need, you filter out other countries and leave just what you need at that point. Now, how to design and improve pivot table? Number one thing to consider is that you choose the right data. Make sure the table you are using for the pivot table does not have space. Make sure it is converted to table and ensure they have headers. Then make the pivot table, then pick rows and columns. Remember, I told you if the rows are more, if the things content of display are more, consider using row. If they are fewer, consider using the columns of the columns side. Now, use filters where necessary. For example, where we say we just want maybe Canada, USA, you can just use filter and filter out which other country you don't want. Do maths, because there are some points whereby you may have to compute. So it will allow you to add another row by adding calculated fields, where you can add maybe any form of calculation of your choice you want. Make it look good, then sort and group then dig deeper, update data. So once as data is entering, that the beauty with pivot table was data is entering and you are refreshing, it will be updating. Then label clearly, test and adjust, then explain how to use, and then add slicers. Slicers are more like filters. So you can say, okay, when you add slicers of, let's say, of countries, so if you select the country, it will display only the values of that country alone. If you select 2 or 3, they work more like filters. So how to refresh a pivot table? Now there are 2 ways to, there are more than 1 way to do it. So one is to refresh the pivot table data manually. So how is that achieved? Click inside the pivot table that you want to refresh, to select it, then go to the data tab on the Excel ribbon, then look for the refresh button. That is what you use mostly. Then the data tools, the refresh button in the data tools, rather, group it in the data tool group. It may be labeled as refresh all if you have multiple pivot tables in your workbook. So in that case, you refresh all of them rather than refresh, click refresh. Refresh is for one, and then multiple, refresh all. Refreshing pivot table automatically when opening the workbook in Excel. That's another way. So click inside the pivot table to select it, then go to the pivot table analyze or options tab on the Excel ribbon, depending on your Excel version. Now look for the options group, and within the group, locate and click on the options. Now, one of the most important things to look at, it depends on, depending on your version, is that in the pivot table option dialog box that appears, select the data tab. Now, after selecting the data tab, check the box that says refresh data when opening the file. So click OK to save your changes and close the dialog box. So anytime you're opening the file and there are updates in the table that you use in creating the pivot table, then the data will be refreshed automatically. How to copy a pivot table. Here are the steps to copy a pivot table. Select the entire pivot table, copy that's selecting everything here, just like we see. Then you can either right click and then click on copy, then move to the destination, choose the destination, any location in your worksheet, then click paste, it will paste it. Then to delete is the same thing, select everything and press the delete key. So how to sort a pivot table? Select the column or row you want to sort, then sort in ascending or descending order, just as you would do for your normal data. Now, creating a power pivot chart in Excel. Power pivot chart mostly is used to create data models and perform high-level data analysis to establish relationship and give results easily. So mostly is when you are modeling a data, that's where power pivots come to play. You use it mostly in data modeling in Excel. Creating a power pivot chart. So that's, for you to create a power pivot chart, you need to have your data. Now, each data must have in your data, you have the various tables, and this table must have been properly modeled, relationship established within the data before you apply that. But we're just mentioning this here as part of what you need to know. We're not going deep into it because we may have to create a model and then come up with a chart. So charting here is as easy as you do your regular chart, but the only thing you need to do is to select the elements that will make up the chart. So field list. The power pivot chart contains 2 tabs, active and all. Active tabs consist of data tables that are added to the power pivot chart. All tabs consist of all the data tables in the data model. Then filters, just like we said, by clicking the axis field button, a drop-down menu will appear. You can hide or unhide the values as we wish. So what you want to see per time is what you will select, and what you don't want to see, you will hide. So the next thing we'll be looking at is data analysis tool. And one of them is the goal seek. The goal seek is a what if analysis tool, because when you check under the goal seek, you see the scenario manager, you see the what if analysis, and you see one other tool that we'll also consider. Now here we have the what if analysis tool that available in Excel to determine or calculate any input value based on the formula and the output resultant value. So what is goal seek in Excel? The goal seek in Excel is a built-in what if analysis tool that helps us to know how one value in a formula impacts another. For example, let's say you have your sales target now and your monthly target. Let's say your monthly target is you want to achieve a target of $10 million dollars or $10 million worth of sale for this period. So how do you go about it? What are the things to work on? What are the things to improve? So what do you need to do? How much of your product do you need to sell? So you can use goal seek to make such projections. So where to find goal seek in Excel? Step one, go to the data tab in the Excel sheet. Now in the data tool group, you will find a what if analysis. Now click on what if analysis and you will see goal seek. Now goal seek dialog box has three parts. Now we have the get set cell to value and then the changing cells. So how does that work? Let's pick an example or a scenario. How to use goal seek in Excel. Example, determine the rate of interest using a simple interest, giving principal amount, which is equal to 2,000 time 3 years, simple interest 6,000. So here, the rate is not given. So like we see, the formula was imputed here. First, step one, open MS Excel and insert the values. So after inserting the values, write the formula of simple interest in any of the cell. In this case, B4 was used. So because the rate is 0, the result is 0. So the next thing to do is open the goal seek dialog box, choose the simple interest cell, which is where this is what you are looking at. Choose the cell where you have the formula. So in the cell box, select the cell which contains the formula of simple interest. In this case, we have B4. Now enter 6,000. That's the interest we're targeting. So, but presently it is 0. That's set cell, which is the formula. But we're targeting 6,000. So what do we need to do? Then you now tell Excel through goal seek, what should this value be? This empty value, what should it be in order to achieve 6,000 as your target? What should it be in order to achieve this new value? So you click on OK. So step 6, enter the rate of interest cell reference, that's B3, where we are looking, which is what we are looking for in this case. Once you do that, click OK and then preview the changes. You'll see that it is giving us a rate of 3%. You can see that it is giving us a rate of 3. Now, automatically, it's telling us for us to achieve this, then we need to up our rates to this. So that's how goal seek work. Things to remember. There should always be a formula in the set cell. That is one thing you should remember. The set cell should contain a formula. It can't be empty. Then there should be dependency of set cell directly or indirectly by changing cell. Then it should affect, if anything happens to the formula rather, then it should affect the changing cell. That is necessary to study the impact of the set cell. Now, by changing cell should not contain any special character. It's just for you to select the cell just by clicking on the cell. How to use goal seek example 2. Determine the value of the unit if the sum is given. We have to calculate the values. Now, when the sum of values is 303, now, look at this example here. I'm trying to. Okay, presently the sum of value is 214. Then we want to achieve, what do we need? What does this cell have to be in order for us to achieve 303, which is what we have here? So how do we achieve that? Write the formula, that's the sum. Here we'll have the sum. Then in any cell, of course, this is 0 for now. Click Data tab and go to What If Analysis and select Goal Seek. Once that is done, select the cell which contains the formula, then write the resultant value, which is what we are looking for at the end of the day, which is the set set value. Now, write the reference of the cell which you want the value. So we're referencing this cell. You just to click on it, then click OK. Immediately we have the result. That result is 89 here. So how to use goal seek in Excel, example 3. Now, I think because of our time, example 1 and 2 has also played a pivotal role in giving us understanding of how goal seek work. So we'll go to the next thing. Shortcut for goal seek in Excel. You can access goal seek in Excel using the keyboard shortcut by pressing Alt plus A, followed by W and then G. How to fix goal seek in Excel. Step 1, confirm goal seek settings. Make sure the set cell points to the cell with your formula rather. Then check if the formula cells depends on the changing cell, which is very important, like we said it earlier. Step 2, adjust iteration settings. Navigate to the File tab, click on Options, then select Formulas and change below. That's increase maximum iteration, then decrease maximum change. These are adjustments to the settings. Now, step 3, no circular references. Ensure that your formula doesn't create circular reference. Now, these steps should help remove issues when using Excel goal seek tool for what if analysis, so that you don't a cell does not reference itself when you are making the computation. So data table in Excel, 1 variable and 2 variables. Now, this is another tool that is very important when you are dealing with data in Excel. Data table is a tool in Microsoft Excel as one. Data table is a tool in Microsoft Excel as one of the 3 what if analysis that we stated earlier on. We have the scenario manager, we have the goal seek, and the last one is the data table. So what is a data table in Excel? Excel data tables shine brightest when dealing with intimate formulas and relying on multiple variables. What is the use of data table in Excel? Data table can be used to replace the values of formula present in the sheets with the values present in either the column or row of any table. Now, with data tables, one can replace at most 2 values in the formula presented in this sheet. Remember, in our goal seek, we're always using one value, but with data tables, you can use multiple values. That's the beauty with using data tables. So how to create data table in Excel? 1 variable data table. In a 1 variable data table, only one of the formula is replaced with the row or column values of a data table. Next, how to create 1 variable data table, which is what we're looking at. Step 1, top right cells contains formula, which is what we have here. Then step 2, select the table with all input and select data. These are the table with, and we're dealing with multiple scenarios. What if this is this? What if this is this? What is this is this? Now we want to test this value across multiple scenarios. So once that is done, follow the above step for row. So you do the same thing for row, then immediately it is giving us multiple scenarios. Here we have this scenario, Now for this, we have 100,000. For 0.1, we have 200,000. For 0.15, so this is how to test multiple scenarios. Remember, in Go sequence, testing a single scenario. Two variable data table. In a two variable data table, two of the formula values are replaced with the rows and columns values of the tables. Now, here we have, let me move to the next place. How to make variable table still. Step 1, the left cell contains the formula, which is what we have here. Then select the data tables and fill details following by pressing OK. So these are all, when you select the data table, so you fill all these rows by selecting them. So, and then you click OK. As soon as that is done, it will provide that scenario. Now, remember, in the first instance, when we're dealing with single, it's providing that scenario across just one period. Now, but in this scenario, we have maybe in a period of the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th years. So it's not just dealing with a single scenario, just like we have there, but we have for the 6th, for the 5th, for the 6th, for the 7th, and for the 8th. So data tables are used to test multiple scenarios vis-a-vis testing a single scenario like we have with GoSeek. So data table to compare multiple results. Imagine having the ability to gather insights from not just one, but multiple formulas all in one go. Now with your data table as the canvas, you can now embark on a journey of formulaic exploration like never before. So that means you can test multiple scenarios, just like we saw, like that. Instead of testing a single scenario, you can test multiple scenarios. What if we're looking at these values, then what if we're spreading them over multiple years? All of that are possible with data table. So data table in Excel, things to remember: precision in selection, insights through comparison, immutable tabular presentation, the orchestra of table formulas, and then the dynamic data, which are the things we've all considered. Thank you very much. We'll be looking at the questions. So what are the kind of questions we should expect, Prof? As in our previous modules, we've seen some examples. So we are going to still look at some of the examples here. What is the purpose of using an array formula in Excel? A, to create and edit charts more efficiently, to apply a single formula to multiple values and perform complex calculations. Then B, to format text with spreadsheet. C, to automate data validation. Of course, is B, to apply a single formula to multiple values, just like we saw, and perform complex calculations. Then number 2, how do you enter an array formula in Excel? Press Control plus Enter. B, press Shift plus Enter. Then C, press Control plus Shift plus Enter. Then D, press Alternate plus Enter. Of course, the answer is C. We have said that over and over while presenting arrays. So, what table primarily used for? 1, formatting cells with different colors, summarizing, analyzing large data sets efficiently. C, creating a data worksheet automatically. D, encrypting spreadsheet data. Of course, it is summarizing and analyzing large data set. So I will leave the remaining 2 for you to figure out. Thank you for your attention. We'll now go straight to the practice section, where we'll take some little practical on our array. So first, I would like to start with the row array. Remember, we said, how do we enter a row array? So we'll say first, you enter the equal sign, then you open your curly braces, then we'll enter 1, want to enter 5 values. So remember, don't forget the fact that you must select the cells. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're looking at 5 values. Then you press equal to, and we'll open our curly brace. and put 1, 2, 3, 4, then comma 5, and press Control plus Shift plus Enter. So once that is done, you can see that it has filled it in for us. So this is for the horizontal. This is for the horizontal array. So let's do something for the vertical array. So I'll come down a little here and select just this range from here to here. Let's say 3 ranges this time around, because of the time I'll still use values. So equal to, let's say 3, 3. Remember a semicolon, 4, semicolon, 5, and then this has to be a curly brace. Sorry, need to escape that. So here, equal to a curly brace, 3, semicolon, 5, semicolon, 7, then close our curly brace and press Control plus Shift plus Enter. Okay, now something happened, and it's good that it happened that way because I selected just one cell. We are supposed to select 3 cells, so I'll select 3 cells this time around, and then equal to open curly brace, 3, semicolon, 5, semicolon, 7, and then close curly brace and press Control plus Shift plus Enter. Now you can see we have it. So this is for the vertical array. So let's do the 2D array. So we want it vertically and then horizontally. So what we'll do here is to say equal to, we've selected the range. We want 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 in the first 3 columns, and then 4, 5, 6 in the next line. So here we'll enter the curly brace, then enter 1, 2, the first line. Then we'll put a line break by a row break by putting the semicolon, and then putting 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. Then we'll close the curly brace and press Control plus Shift plus Enter. That is done. So because of our time, we'll stop here on the array, because mostly the questions are going to be theoretical in nature. So we'll move straight to the next sheet. We'll talk about pivot charts, pivot table rather. So for pivot table, remember I said your column must be properly labeled. This is even a table rather than just a cell. I mean, just some entries. I've converted it to table already. So, and the tables have headers. We can see salesperson, we can see country, we can see product, we can see data, we can see amount, and then boxes shift. So how do we insert a pivot chart now? So click on this and click on insert. Then insert what? Sorry, a pivot table. So we'll click on the pivot table, and once that is done, it will bring in the dialog box. Where do we want it? Already the range is selected. If you see the line around the table, the range is selected. So I want this in this same sheet. So let's just deal with that in this same sheet. I'll click on existing sheets and click where I want it. I want it from here, and then click OK. Then having done that, you can see that it has inserted the pivot table, what is empty. So we need to start filling things. So let me take the amount value to the amount of value. So this is the entire amount, sum of amounts. But how do I now start analyzing this? Now, let's say I want to know, okay, from this, let's see by country. I'll move country to rows. You simply drag and drop. Sorry, this is obstructing it. Let me move it a little. drag country to rows. Or another thing we could do is to click inside and select country. So here we can see the sale amount is now splitted among Australia, we have Canada, we have India, and so on. Then what if we want to see this product on the row? So let me shrink this a little. Fine. So you can see the products. So in this case, we have more products. So why don't we now swap the products to the row and then these other ones to the column? So how do we achieve that? So click inside and our table is back. So all I need to do is to move country here and then take products this way. Then we'll scroll back to see our table. Yeah, fine. So simply, you can see that it's aggregating and summarizing each. So simply, this is how a pivot table will work. But for the purpose of this data challenge, this is all we can take for now. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time. Hello, sir.